I'm in a 40-day challenge that I started right around Christmas, just before, I think, Christmas. And it's 40 days. It's 40 days of getting up earlier and reading a little bit of scripture, small, like a couple of verses, and then praying. So there's some days where I didn't get up early, but I still did it. There's some days where I got up early, didn't do it right when I got up, but did it later. And there's some days I didn't do it at all.
Yeah.
What's my point? My point here is that I'm still not throwing in the towel.
Right. Tenacity.
Yes.
A little bit.
Just because I didn't do it yesterday doesn't mean I couldn't do it today.
We believe that you are strong by design, and you were made in God's image to have a strong body, mind, and spirit. You're listening to the #1 strength and health authority podcast in the world. So let's get ready to unlock your potential and transform your life in today's episode.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Strong by Design podcast. I feel like I'm echoey in here a little bit today. It's probably because
it's the cold.
It's so cold and quiet. Welcome, Jared.
Yes, thank you.
To the cast. What, Stephen? It's cold in here.
It is cold.
For us, this is cold.
Yeah. I was talking to my sister yesterday, and I'm like, man, it's really cold down here in Florida. She's like, yeah, well, it's like 0 degrees and minus 15, but whatever.
Do you know the Panhandle? So when this releases, it'll be the right at the end of January. Obviously, we record these a little bit in advance, but we're getting this cold front moving in this week, and the Panhandle of Florida is getting snow.
Yeah.
Like, they're getting snow.
They thought Tampa might get a little snow.
Yeah, they thought that it could drop down this far, but
have you seen the pictures from like 50 years ago when it snowed in Tampa?
I did.
It was 48 years ago that it snowed in Tampa.
Wow, I was I was very young at that point.
Yes, I wasn't born.
I was a year old, I guess.
I was not yet born.
Wow, that's crazy. I mean, it's really so rare for
and it was
to
like a
drop
dusting.
into the
You know,
30s.
It's not like it's
right. No, it's not cumulative snow. It's like
it accumulated a little bit. Like they were able to write Tampa on their window because it stuck to their window.
No, the Panhandle's supposed to get 3 to 6 inches potentially.
Oh wow!
Like the western, the part of the Panhandle that is.
Didn't Louisiana just get a bunch of snow too?
They may have. I mean, that whole area, New Orleans and all that, they're going to be freezing 20 to 30 degree weather with snow.
Snow on sand is just a weird combination.
Weird combo. Pretty cool. I'm in honor of the cold. I'm drinking an Arctic Celsius.
There you go.
Arctic 5. I'm feeling extra chilly today. But we thank all of you who've tuned in, who are listening to the Strong by Design podcast. We're still celebrating a newer year, right?
Yep.
2025. This is just our 3rd episode of the year.
Quarter of the way through the century.
Yeah, right. A quarter. Yeah, in 2025. Yeah. Kind of weird, right? That year when we were young in the 1900s, 2025 felt like light years away.
We're past Back to the Future, right?
Way past. We're way past Back to the Future. Yeah. What year was that?
I don't remember.
Right around then. Wasn't it like 2020 or 20? I forget what it was.
Yeah.
Some of those.
It wasn't that long ago, but I know
some of those
it passed.
things have become realities.
Some things.
Some of the things that were in the movie, which is funny. But really what we wanted to talk about today is something that occurs to me pretty much annually. And I see it in my own life. I certainly see it in other people's lives, is that excitement and that goal setting that takes place for people that tail end of December, that very first week or two of January, where you just feel like now's the time to change something in my life that needs fixing.
The New Year's resolution.
Yeah, the New Year's resolution. And I heard somebody say it a couple of weeks ago. They said, we have to stop looking at it. We have to start calling it something different. In a way, New Year's resolution implies something that, you need to resolve in your life, something that needs fixing, but it doesn't really capture the essence of what we want to accomplish, which would mean a commitment to something. So it's almost like a New Year's commitment would be maybe better language for people, because this is the time right now when this episode releases. We're 30 days into a new year, and the stats are not good for how many people have thrown in the towel, given up, and gotten right back into life, into the rat race, into the hamster wheel living, right?
Absolutely.
And I have a stat that kind of sets off this whole conversation. It's a Forbes article, excerpt from a Forbes article dated December 30th, so this is very relevant and recent. Studies reveal that while 38.5% of U.S. adults set New Year's resolutions annually, only 9%, so already less than half of the people even do this, right? Based on this, only 9% successfully keep them. So that's not good. So less than 10% of the 38%, right, actually even keep
I don't
these.
think I've ever had a conversation with someone in December where they're going, man, I'm about to finish my New Year's resolution. I'm really killing it.
I'm crushing it.
Never had that
Month
conversation.
12, baby.
Yeah.
I did it.
Yeah.
You know, like, you know, you're right. It's a forgotten thing. At that, no one's even talking about it anymore. Additionally, 23% abandon their resolutions within the first week, while only 36% make it past the first month. So right now, 36%
Of the 30.
of the 38.5% who even did this, and the majority give up by mid-February. So, so very few people are even committed still, and give it 2 more weeks, and everybody's pretty much out.
That's why I just don't even try.
You don't even try. Why why even come up with anything
That's
to
right.
fix? You know?
It's not going to fix it.
I know. So there's a lot of different ways we can tackle this topic and talk about it. But I wanted to kind of talk about it from the angle of, like, what is going on in the first place for us to have these thoughts, these emotions, these feelings. As we come into the end of the year, people get nostalgic, first of all. It doesn't matter what year it is. Like, when you're coming to the end of a year, it feels kind of like definitive. It's like, all right, well, this year's done.
Yeah.
And what was this year for me? Like, was it a good year? There's like this little assessment that
Bit
happens.
of an evaluation of your life.
Yeah.
Sure.
And it might even just be a personal thing that you don't even communicate with other people. It's just kind of what's going on in your head. You're like, you know, it's a year to be proud of.
Yeah.
Was this a year where I kind of took a step backwards? What do I want next year to be like? You know, where can I improve a relationship, or can I be financially better off next year? Maybe get that new job, or get out of this job that I'm miserable in. Whatever it is, like, people are all feeling this on some level, right? So I wrote down a list of things that I think are going on right now for people in that period. And when it comes to putting maybe pen to paper or typing something up, or, you know, the conversations that they might even have with somebody, a trusted coworker, friend, mentor. And these are kind of the things, and we can talk through this a little bit. I think a lot of people first, they make a goal of some kind, whatever it is. Could be one thing, could be multiple things.
Sure.
And I think oftentimes it's unrealistic or vague.
Yeah. Sure.
And that's like right out of the gate, they've already cost themselves something.
Yeah. I think part of that as well is that people want things to be different, but they don't want anything to change.
Right.
You know what I
Their
mean?
comfort zones.
And so I think that sets up an unrealistic expectation, right? Like, okay, here's what I want it to be, here's what needs to change, and they're like, okay, I'm going to do it. But then when they actually get into what it takes to actually accomplish that thing, it's so vague, as you said, or it's so vast that they're like, all right, never mind. That's too hard.
Too big.
Yeah.
That mountain, I'm going to climb that mountain? How the heck am I going to get there?
Yeah.
All I had was a little map with a line drawn. Like, it's like, what are my action steps? I don't have any good points to focus on prior to the destination.
Did you ever see the movie What About Bob?
Oh my gosh, yeah, it's a good one.
Yeah.
With Bill Murray.
Yeah, with Bill Murray.
And
Yeah.
Richard Dreyfuss.
Yep.
It's an older movie now. It's
Yeah.
like 30 years old, I
Yeah, at least. Well, I mean, Bill Murray kind of had his time in the sun about that long ago. But,
No, he did. He's a bee's knees.
So the psychiatrist, for those who haven't seen the movie, basically Bob is this guy who has this fear of everything, and ends up going to a psychiatrist who gives him this book called Baby Steps, and it's all about like rather than trying to accomplish this big goal, break it down into little things so you can have these little victories, these little accomplishments. And so he's always like baby steps. And so he's afraid to leave his apartment.
Yes.
And he's saying to himself, okay, baby steps to the elevator, baby steps into the elevator.
I have to go back and watch that movie again, dude.
So
I
funny.
guarantee you that's a movie that it doesn't matter how much time has gone by.
Oh, no,
like,
absolutely.
That'll still be as good.
My Psychology 101 class in college, that was like the first thing that we did was watch What About Bob.
Oh my gosh, how cool is
Yeah.
that? See? Then that's a good professor right there.
That's right.
Who can take something that
Shout
they
out
know
to Lois
is-
Kendall.
Yeah.
So
They know is entertaining, but also has so much insight into that area.
Yes.
And you can learn a lot from that movie.
Yes.
Even while you're laughing and stuff.
Yes.
Get into
Yeah, it's really good. But there's so much truth to that, right? The
100%.
reality of setting up realistic expectations and setting up almost mini goals of okay, what is something small? Because if you're not tasting victories, it's like a football game where you have a defense that is just comes out strong. But if your offense just keeps falling apart over and over and over again, eventually you get tired where you're like, why even try anymore? I'm never
That
gonna.
incentive, it goes
the
away.
incentive goes away.
Yep.
So giving yourself some realistic incentives to be able to keep you chugging forward.
I heard something great on Frank Turek's podcast, which I'm
Mm-hmm.
a huge fan of. I don't have enough faith to be an atheist is the name of the podcast. It's the Cross-Examined is the business, and he was saying something the other day about, and I think this comes. He was either quoting someone else or referencing somebody else when he was talking about it, but that we aren't necessarily driven to do things as well. It has to be our own self-interest, and it's usually incentivized stuff. That's the stuff that really drives people and moves people for change or to take action in anything. If it's just because it's a good thing morally, that doesn't necessarily win people over.
Right.
But if they're incentivized to do something, you're gonna get a lot out of people.
Right.
Right. If they know at the end of the day they're gonna have this in their hand.
That's affiliate marketing, right?
Yeah, 100%.
I mean, affiliate marketing is, hey, if you sell this thing for me, I'll give you a little taste of the profit.
100%.
Where it's like, hey, this is a really good product and it's going to change the world. Will you help me sell it? People are going to say, I don't care.
Yeah, it sounds great, but what's in it for us?
What's in it for me is which is kind of a disappointing mentality, but the reality when you get down to the root of it.
What's something else that people where they go wrong? We kind of touched on it a little bit. They have too many goals, too many things. So maybe not just one grand Mac Daddy thing. They might just have too many things they've listed off that they want to fix or change in their life. 5, 10 things. And it's like, my gosh, dude, talk about overwhelm. You might get excited on paper or with your list that you've carved out for yourself. But what's that look like every day?
Yeah.
So that's
You get
why
spread too thin.
Yes, spread way too thin. That's why it's so much better, I think, to get really clear on one thing that you would like to really see
Jack of all
changed.
trades, but master of none.
None. Yeah, I'm that guy. A lot of times, I feel like
Yeah.
in life, just generally, I feel like I'm pretty good at a lot of things, but I'm never just excellent at that one thing. And a lot of people could say that they are. It's hard to be really excellent at one thing in life. I mean, it takes so much effort and so much time to get there.
Like for me, it's spelling.
For sure.
That's what I'm the best at.
Has that ever crept into your New Year's resolutions or no improvements?
No, it's an accepted reality for me.
It's more entertaining that you're just not that good at it because it really it makes us all feel so much better about
your mistakes.
Yeah, when I see how awful you are at spelling, I'm like, you know, I'm better at him
I still
than that.
text Christiana words, and she's like, "Why? I've told you this 1,000 times." I'm like, I don't know. Sometimes it's autocorrect. It does
I think
what it wants
sometimes
to do.
too, it's just a lack of I'm way more OCD about stuff. Like I'll edit a text because I got something wrong in the text. That's me. A lot of people don't give two craps. If they get a word wrong, a letter is wrong, a punctuation's
Yeah.
off, whatever it is, like they know the person on the other end probably understands what they're trying to
My
put
brain
across.
has a little bit of ADD.
Yeah.
So if I'm like crunching through something,
Yeah.
if I have to stop every 2 seconds to try to fix my spelling,
Yeah.
I'm going to forget where I'm going.
Yeah.
And I'm going to like, it takes away my creative juices.
Yeah, absolutely. But it works. You're fast in a lot of the work that you do on the post-production side of stuff for our business. And then you have people like me that'll go and find the flaw, find the mistake afterwards, because we're kind of, that's what gets us excited or gets us, taps into our best abilities.
And you are. The things that you find
are ridiculous.
are astonishing to me.
I know.
You know?
There's just this one little thing where it's well, you have sometimes, and I know we're on tangent right now, but that's okay. Jared puts together a lot of our video content, right? So I'm responsible for reviewing things before they go
Quality
final. Quality control. I will sometimes see you'll have an edit in place, and the edit's fine technically, but it'll be like multiple edits in a row, and it's almost like the edits are all clean, but they're too quick, they're too fast. There's too many in a short span of time or whatever. But or it'll be like a you're going from one shot to another shot, so like a main shot to a side shot, and then it goes to maybe like a quote. Or it goes to B-roll of some kind, but it doesn't look good because of where it's inserted.
That's because that's just to clarify. That's not an intentional cut.
No,
it's because I didn't drag whatever over far enough on the timeline, and so it quickly like flashes and then pops to what I actually wanted because it didn't quite get there.
My eyes are, I kind of watch like wide open.
And it really is, it's like one frame.
Yeah, it's one frame, but a lot can happen in 1 second or less of television. A lot can happen there. So you got to be mindful.
So I'm glad for people like you that catch that stuff.
And we're a little bit over the top with it. But so get really clear on that one kind of specific thing rather than having multiple things. Hone it in.
What's the one thing that you want to work on as opposed to the 4 or 5?
Yeah, 100%. And I think you'll get, and you'll be able to, and then if you have those little action steps, those little wins that you can feel along the way, that's what's going to motivate you to keep going.
And that's the thing too, is if you're moving well on this one thing and all of a sudden you're accomplishing that goal, okay, well now move to the next thing, or maybe you set a priority list, everything's important, but not everything's a priority. So what's the priority for you this year? Or at least to kick the year off. And if you feel like, man, I'm doing really good at this, I have it under control, well now I can add in my second thing. But it's not like a sense of, man, I'm really failing myself because I didn't accomplish all of these things all at one time.
Yeah, 100%. Accountability is big too.
Sure.
So a lack of accountability, because most of us are really only accountable to ourselves with these goals, with these resolutions that we put down. Or that we mentally come, First of all, try to write it somewhere and try and share it with a few people.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a supervisor, maybe it's a coworker, it's a friend, it's a spouse.
I would think you would want it to be somebody that you would know could trust you to hold you accountable.
100%.
Like I'm not gonna
call you out on it too.
You go to the grocery store, and you're checking out, and you're telling them, hey, guess what you're like. That's not going to do you any good.
Sure, it might feel good to tell somebody.
Or a friend that's like out of state that you hardly talk to. It's a really good friend, but you don't have enough connection with them or communication with them that it's actually going to be effective. But
who's going to send you the text message?
Yeah.
Or who's going to make the phone call? Or who's going to stop you? Or say something to you at lunch and be like, "Hey, how are you doing with that thing?" Remember you were talking to me about
and all of a sudden,
where are you with that?
All of a sudden, you're not eating lunch with them as much anymore.
Yeah, then you avoid them because you're like, they're going to call me out on this. So you want to be careful who you do choose.
Yeah.
But then if you give them that information, they should feel confident. You should trust them to come to you with real questions about it, real concern about, hey, this was important to you. Is it still important? How are you doing with it? What can I do to help?
Yeah.
Whatever,
What changed?
Yeah.
Why is it no longer important to you?
100%. It's huge. which obviously is a motivational thing at some point too. And this has been going around now for several weeks. Have you seen some of these people? And you know, when you watch one thing, you get
see a
more
bunch
of the
them.
same.
Sure.
Whether it's this person, the platform, or the topic,
Or the product.
or the product, or whatever it is, right? So I've been seeing a lot of these have to versus get to.
Okay.
So in life, there's a lot of have tos. I have to do this. I have to do that. I have to take my dogs on a walk in the morning.
Yeah.
I have to get my kids ready for school.
Like
I have to go
to
work
work.
out. I have to, right? Or I get to take my dogs for a walk in the morning. I get to
That's good.
get my kids together in the morning and get off to
Yeah,
the
it's
bus.
perspective and
I
attitude,
get to work
right?
out. 100% is perspective. And there is a lot of value to that.
Have you seen old people? I
Yeah,
feel
I've
like
seen some old people.
Have you ever seen an old person before?
You ever seen an old guy?
So in ministry, I did a lot of visitations to older people, like in care homes or just at their houses or whatever it might be. And at some point, I don't know when it happens, but at some point, there's this like fork in the road where either the person becomes really bitter or the person just comes overwhelmingly joyful. And I'm like, I always want to be the person when I get older and when my body's falling apart, all my friends are dying, I'm not, able to do the things that I used to do. I feel stuck or trapped. All of the things, you feel like you're just in a constant state of loss.
Yeah.
And yet you have someone that's angry and bitter, or you have someone that's like this, they're just so full of joy. I attribute it a lot to their relationship with Jesus and where they're at, and in their relationship with Him, and how He shaped and is continuing to shape their lives in the season that they're in. But that's the mentality, right? I have to go through this stuff, or man, every day is a gift, and I get to go through this in spite of the things that's going on in my life.
100% that.
So
it is that. It's just the way you see the world and the way you operate in it, and every day is that gift. And I'm the first one that falls on my face with living that out every day.
Yeah.
I mean, I just was evaluating myself driving to work this morning, and I was listening to a podcast, and he said something, and I thought about what he said for a second, and it was about I just think of some of the little moments of how cute my daughter is. She's 9 years old. She'll be 10 this spring, and how she still has this great imagination and does role playing and makes everything into a fort. You know how kids, everything's a freaking fort with a kid, a box, something you move, sheets and
I tell you what
blankets
my
and
kids
pillows
did the other night
You might have.
with their shop. Like they
set up a
They
shop,
said
like they're going
it
to
was
sell
like,
something.
It was
She
four
does-
different shops, and then Ezra was the tax collector.
All
What
right,
a goofy
way to go. You call
game.
him Matthew?
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
You
Yeah.
should call him Matthew.
I think that's where it came from.
Okay,
actually,
something
was
biblical
we
there.
watched The Chosen.
Okay, so there you go.
But he was like, I heard him talking to. He was at the first shop, and he's like, "Okay, so I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to charge you a sales tax and an income tax."
Oh,
And I
jeez.
was like, "Man, he's really getting into
Good
it."
for him. He's really getting into
Yeah.
it. But kids, but at the same time, they can do that stuff while you're trying to do something. Like my wife and I are moving stuff out of my son's room, trying to take stuff out of his closet, get rid of old stuff. Like, what are you keeping? What's a keep pile? What's a throwaway pile? All this stuff.
Yep.
And stuff's moved out into the kind of hallway space, and my daughter's making it into a fort in real time while we're trying to work around it.
Yeah.
And I'm annoyed. But at the same time, I didn't let myself get out of control or anything over it. But it's that's a time to be just laugh and be like, oh, how funny! Look what she's doing.
That season
here.
is limited.
That's right, because pretty soon she's gonna think I'm an idiot, not gonna want to hang out with me very much. Who knows? I'm just when she's a teenager, I am secondary or third or fourth in her life. She's got other big. Right now, the parents are pretty darn important, and she's just cute doing her little imagination stuff, talking to herself, and we should just enjoy that time and not overlook it. So, Anyway, again, tangent.
Yeah.
Tangent number 2.
Yeah, that was
All right,
good.
There's probably a couple more coming. Excuse making, which we're all good at. I'm really good at making excuses for things. I'm in a 40-day challenge that I started right around Christmas, just before, I think, Christmas. And it's 40 days. It's 40 days of getting up earlier and reading a little bit of scripture, small, like a couple of verses, and then prayerful about what
Are you
that
reading left to
scripture
right or
says.
top to bottom?
I'm still reading from left to right.
Okay, good. Because otherwise it wouldn't make sense.
Wait, my hand was working?
Yeah.
I don't know.
My dad used to do this. He invented this character, I think, in high school. His name was Maynard Yoder, and he was a missionary to Africa. And he would pull out his Bible, and he's like, "Okay, we're going to read from God's Word," and he'd just read the first word of every line, and that was kind of his one of his sticks that he did. So
I wonder what you'd get out of such a way of
nothing.
reading.
It's
probably
gibberish.
nothing, right?
It's absolute gibberish.
It is gibberish.
But
So no, it is. It's very meaningful. It's honed in. The prayer is directly connected to what the scripture. It's just usually a couple of lines, and it's for you to become really familiar with what that verse is trying to hit on. And so usually what I do is I back up for context. I read a bit more before it and a little bit after it, just so I'm kind of in alignment with what it's saying. But it feels good when I do it. How many days have I done it out of the 40 days? Or,
Yeah.
we're approaching I'll say the end, but we're getting there. We're actually, by the time this releases, I'll pretty much be right about at the end of that 40-day challenge. I give myself like a C letter grade. Have I done it some days? Absolutely. Have I gotten up early and read and prayed? Yes. Have I missed some days? 100%. Have I not done it at all on some days? So there's some days where I didn't get up early, but I still did it. There's some days where I got up early, didn't do it right when I got up, but did it later. And there's some days I didn't do it at all.
yeah,
What's my point? My point here is that I'm still not throwing in the towel.
right. Tenacity.
Yes.
A little bit.
Just because I didn't do it yesterday doesn't mean I couldn't do it today.
Yeah.
Or do it right
We're
tomorrow.
in a very similar boat. And it wasn't even a New Year's resolution. We actually started before the New Year's.
Yeah.
Where Christiana came to me and she said, "Hey, I want to read the Bible in a year as a family."
Yeah.
And
Which
I
is
went,
a big thing.
I thought, my initial reaction was, "You're nuts. People have a hard time doing that on their own."
Yep.
But have we done it every day? No. Are we going to finish it in a year? Probably not. But we're doing it, and eventually we are going to get through the whole Bible. And who cares if it takes us 2 years? Being able to do that and sit down, and it's beautiful. It's so easy because we can take turns reading, which we do that sometimes. But with the Bible app, Christiana will just beam it to the TV and let it read to us. So we're all just watching the TV, and it's reading so that we're all in the same version.
Yes, right.
And it's like, you can get through. It takes less than a TV show. Like if you have time to watch one episode of something,
I know.
you have time to read the Bible. But people are like, "Oh no, I can't do it. I don't have time." And I'm like, man, we're done in like 20 minutes typically, because you're not stumbling through words. It's just reading to you. You're following along, and you're done.
What are you willing to use that time for?
It's
that's
priorities.
That's it. That's all it becomes. Everyone has the time for these things.
Yeah.
Most of us have a certain hour in the day where now it's just relaxed time.
Yeah.
I want to sit down on this, and I have it too. I want to sit down. I want to watch football. Or I want to watch this Netflix series that I'm watching. My wife and I are finishing out Yellowstone finally, the second part of season 5 or whatever, and it's something I want to do.
Yeah.
But 100%, those are guilty pleasures. Those
Sure.
are easy things that are it's just being lazy.
Well, and when we're reading like this, it's
Yes.
not like, hey, we're going to do this deep dive Bible study.
No, right.
It's like being washed in the Word. It's this idea. I mean, it's enjoyable.
Yes.
And it because there's things that pop out to you that you're like, oh man, I didn't remember that, or man, that guy's an idiot, or oh my gosh, what, especially going through like Genesis, and he's the daughters are sleeping with their dad, and like all this. You go, and you're like sitting there with your kids, and you're like, oh man.
I think there's a lot of
this is
people
little
who don't.
NC-17 here.
That's what I'm saying. There's people that are not putting any time into reading the Bible. They're not they just, some people listening might completely, they don't want to be Christian.
Don't realize how intense it actually is.
The Bible, regardless of your knowledge or your experience reading the Bible has a lot of truth in it. 100%. Whether you believe in what it has to say or not, you can't knock a lot of what's in there.
Sure.
It's like,
listen, truth is truth, whether you believe it's true or not.
that's exactly right. Right. Regardless of how you live your life,
Yeah.
truth is truth.
Yeah.
And
So you or the bus.
yes,
Never both.
There's so much to gain from the wisdom that's in there and some reflection and stuff. And the more that you're in there reading, the more that word enters you. And that's what it's all about. It's knowing God through his word. It's knowing truth through the word of God. And, I try to, I've been reading the Bible ever since I was young, but it always reads different. I've been reading the Bible, the same Bible, by the way, that I have on my desk that was given to me when I was, in middle school, in youth group. That's the same Bible I've been reading all this time, and it speaks to me in different ways.
Sure.
I have highlighted and asterisks and notes and all kinds of stuff in there that has changed. And I remember as a kid, things that I really found inspiring or jaw-dropping or whatever that hit me different now than they did then.
Isn't it
and things
interesting?
that speak to me now that I didn't even know what they meant years ago.
I think it's funny when you're thinking of like a particular verse and you see where it is on the page.
Oh, 100%.
You know what I'm saying?
100%.
So when you're like trying to find it, you're like, okay, I know it's on the left up here somewhere. That, it's funny how our memories work that way.
And there's a lot in there, and there's, then this is kind of the point that I'm kind of leading to at the end. So I'm going to hold that one thought. But
Ooh, a teaser.
yeah, that's a teaser. I'm going to hold that one thought. This is another really big thing for people, and there's two sides to it: the fear of failure and or the fear of success. By establishing change in your life. Okay. So, and this is where you find out who your friends are. The people in your corner rooting for you to change, to become somebody better, or the people who kind of pull back from you because they don't want you, they're comfortable. They're so comfortable in their life that they don't want to see you excel. They don't want to see you grow and be different, because that changes the dynamic of your relationship.
That's true.
And when you don't have cheerleaders in your life, or the people in your life that you think are your friends, that can be painful there, because you might separate now from people that you thought were in your corner.
Have you seen the movie 28 Days with Sandra Bullock? Not 28 Days Later.
Okay.
Not the zombie apocalypse
That's
movie.
the boy I thought you were
28
going to.
Days is...
Okay. I don't know if I saw that.
Sandra Bullock goes to rehab. And so at the beginning of the movie, she has this boyfriend that is like, they have fun together, and, they quote unquote love each other or whatever.
Right.
She gets sent to rehab, and she's actually finding progress in it. And towards the end of the movie, like, he's like, come on, let's go, let's have fun. And she's changing. And she's like getting mad at him for not like trying to get her to like fall off the wagon, and she's like, what are you doing? And he's like, what do you mean, what's wrong with you? Like, this is how we have fun. And she's like, no, get away from me, and so that's exactly it, where that relationship no longer works anymore, because
he wants a party buddy.
He wants his continued party buddy, and she's ready to move forward and say, I want to get my life right, and he's not ready to make that commitment too. So it's true. You have to, when you're making these changes in your life, you have to be surrounded by the right people. And I think that you have to take a deep evaluation of, who are my people and who am I spending time with? And are they pushing me towards the goals that I want to achieve, or are they hindering me from getting to where I want to go?
Yep. It's really sobering.
Yeah.
to think about.
And that
because
stinks, especially if you've had a friend for like a really long
I
time.
know it, dude. And some people, I've had to come to terms with this a few times in my life with somebody that I was really close with in my childhood. And then there was a kind of a key moment that happened, and there was kind of a separation. And that friendship just never reestablished itself,
Yeah.
and was just kind of a done relationship. And some people are just meant to be in your life, I feel like, for just a certain period of time. And maybe you're just supposed to learn from that relationship. And you can't, people have to just naturally want to be in your life or not. They can't,
Sure.
you can't force it, right? Just like you can't, love is not forced. Friendship is not forced. And so you got to continue to be around those people that are your cheerleaders, obviously, for all the right reasons, and separate yourself from the people that are wanting you to kind of just stick where you are, stay where you are, and not grow and not be different. That's why my wife is so awesome, because she knows all my failings and all the mistakes and areas of my life that I just need improvement in. And she's my cheerleader for those things. As harsh as it feels to hear it from her, like to trying to fix me, or I said, "Why isn't it funny? We're always trying to fix me."
Yeah. What'd she say?
I mean, that's just
She said, "Well, that's because you're broken."
That's because I'm the most broken one out of the two. So anyway, no, so that's really good insight, and hopefully that's helpful for people on the other side. Maybe they have to evaluate right now. Yeah, maybe this person is holding me back from that goal that I wrote for myself. They're like a block. They're not helping me, and maybe that relationship just looks different. Maybe they're not. Just like some families sometimes can be a hindrance. And maybe it doesn't mean you have to completely disconnect, but maybe you have to just pull back a little bit from how close you are.
I think you have to establish healthy boundaries in order to reach the goals that you're going after.
Yeah.
And that's hard, especially with long relationships.
Yeah, it's very hard when there's history. Yeah, and blood. So the tease I had earlier, right? This is kind of the last big thing here, is when we get so focused on our end result instead of the steps to get there.
Sure.
And you kind of alluded to it again at the beginning, is, we're always looking at the goal, the destination, but what does that journey look like, right? And life, like you used that famous quote, right? Life is not about the destination, it's about the journey.
Sure.
I mean, yeah, it's still about the destination, but how do we impact where we're going?
Yeah.
We impacted by what we're doing
How do you
today.
embrace the journey?
How do you embrace it?
Yeah. And to me, it's recognizing that this isn't just something that I do, but it's actually a lifestyle change.
100%.
And I think if you start incorporating it like, hey, I'm going to watch less TV, well, that's something that you do. But you have to embrace that lifestyle change and realize you almost have to grieve a little bit what was, because it's gone now. And you have to be okay with it being gone. That's the lifestyle change, right? Is things, things are now different in order for things to change. And that's the reality of that. When that hits, I think is a lot more difficult for people than they think it's going to be.
Yeah, people like their routines, and there's nothing wrong with that. Having a routine or having, habits that are healthy, that are helping you, these are good things to have in place. The thing is a lot of us have comfort zone routines and things that are kind of detracting or blocking, as I've said a few times, or just preventing us from making the positive change. Like what's something for me, a routine? Staying up too late. By me staying up too late, that prevents me from getting up earlier to do the things that I want to do. Getting to bed at a more reasonable time allows me to get up earlier to get those accomplishments and those little tasks in the morning. And it's one of those, there's a speech from it. I think he's an admiral. Because he's a naval officer, so he has to be an admiral. He's high up. It's very famous, this speech. and I catch clips of it all the time. And he talks about the power of and maybe I've mentioned this in previous podcasts, the power of making your bed in the morning, and all the benefits that come with that. It's just that quick, easy accomplishment that we're all capable of, making your bed in the morning. And he's like, you got something done. And even if you had a bad day,
You started with a victory.
Even if you had a bad day, you come home to a bed that's made. And just, you had control over your bedroom environment.
It's like a clean house too.
Yeah, I'm telling you, these are little things, right?
Before we go on vacation,
you clean the house.
We clean the house because when we come
thing.
home, I'm like, I want to come home to a disaster. I want to come home and be able to relax.
100%. We do the same exact thing. We get the best house cleaning done.
Yes.
Right before a trip.
Right before you leave, yeah.
So the
We like
kitchen
people
is
coming over to our
immaculate.
house too because it forces us to really
Well,
clean
that's true too, because if you have somebody taking care of the cats or dogs or neighbors checking in on the house, you don't want them walking into a pigsty. So you're doing the floors, you're wiping down the kitchen, all the laundry's put away, the kids' bedroom are made, everything's just pristine. But it does feel good to come home to an environment that feels inviting.
And you dump
and
your
fresh,
suitcase over everything.
and then
and just
everything's a
ruin
disaster
it.
in an hour. But that's life. But I thought that this was there's so many things that we've talked through here that I think can hit somebody different.
Sure.
And everyone's struggling here in some capacity with some of these things that we've talked about. And maybe some people right now are feeling really good about where they are, and they're 30 days in.
Keep going.
They're proud of themselves for working out more, or they're proud of themselves for losing 5 to 10 pounds already.
Eating less sugar.
Yeah, eating less sugar. Or they're proud that they've committed to some Bible reading or Bible study or something. Or they're proud that they took a step in reestablishing a relationship, somebody that they stopped communicating with, a family member or a close friend. There's so many different angles to look at this. I almost say, like, if you want, just find like what are three, maybe a personal relationship area of your life, maybe something work or financial related, right? And then maybe something spiritual.
Sure.
And you could even put maybe a physical improvement thing. Have a couple of categories, and then prioritize them, and then
hone it in,
and then get clear and get specific with what are some of the things that I need to do so I can build up some of those mini victories. And the other thing is this: it doesn't have to always be January 1. It could be February 1.
Yep.
It could be March 1.
It could be December.
It could be It doesn't matter the month. It doesn't matter the start of a new year. Every day is a new opportunity. And if you're on a challenge like I am, this 40-day Bible reading challenge, if I didn't do it good for yesterday, or I didn't do it good for today, I can get right with it tomorrow, and I can still finish strong on this thing. And say, hey, out of the 40 days, I did it really good for 28 days. Okay, well then set yourself up for that challenge again and try to at least do 30 good days. Get better at it. And that's what life's all about, man. Perfection's not...
Keep it realistic.
Yeah. Perfection's not attainable, right?
Not for you.
Not for me. I can't have perfect hair quite like Jared, but...
That's not true.
It's, so what we're going for is the effort, and the passion and the willingness to improve.
Yep.
And
That's good.
And to see it through, not throwing in the towel. So thanks for sitting in on this convo with me today, buddy. Appreciate it. Hopefully it sits with somebody.
Yeah, for sure.
Right? And I'm sure there's somebody that you can think of that's all you listeners, somebody in your life, whether that's in your family, a friend, a coworker, a neighbor, somebody that gosh, we've talked about this and I've never quite seen them kind of get over that hump to make that to flip that switch. Maybe this is what they need to hear. And it's not about being hard on yourself either.
Yeah.
Give yourself some grace. I give myself a lot of grace because God gives us grace. He gives us a lot of mercy and a lot of, every day is an opportunity for us. Who cares if you've made a mistake and you screwed up? just try to do it better the next time, man.
Yep.
Give it your very best.
Yep.
There was that one last thing I was going to say, which had eluded me, but it came back to me. It is worth mentioning. I forget what the guy's name is. Is it Jocko Willink or something? Have you heard of this guy before? I think he was a military guy, like a Navy SEAL or something. These Navy SEAls.
Oh yeah, Jocko.
You know who that is? No idea. Okay, I think I got his name right. A lot of these, Sean Ryan's become really popular. He's a Navy SEAL. A lot of these guys who are high level military guys have become very prominent speakers and podcasters for a good reason, right? Mentally really tough people. But what he was saying was he was talking about doing something for 100 days. And he's like, after you do something, whatever that, that goal is, you do it day one. You gonna see any change? No. How about day two? No, not really. And he's like, I think he might have even said, like, what about day 7? And he's like, what about day 100? If you actually did that thing and you did it for 100 days, whether that was 10 minutes a day playing a guitar, 10 minutes a day of reading the Bible, 10 minutes a day of getting up earlier to, go for a walk, 10 minutes, whatever it is, if you're doing it every day for 10 minutes, day 1, day 2, day 3, you're not going to really see that change or notice it. But you do that for 100 days, and you are a different person.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we're driving at here. It's not the length of time that we do something. It's the frequency in which we're capable of, committing to it. And so it doesn't have to, just little bites.
Yeah.
Back to the baby steps. Bill Murray, baby steps.
Yep.
It is baby steps.
Yep, it's baby steps.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
It's good.
It's good. Anyway, that's it.
Cool.
Thanks for being here.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Let's go make this the rest of this year. We got 11 months left. Come on, lots of time. and I'm speaking to myself because I have a lot of things that I can improve in my life. So we thank you for stopping by to listen to the Strong by Design podcast. We love you, and God bless you. Talk to you next time.
1, 2, 3.
GSD.
Thank you so much for listening to the Strong by Design podcast. If you found value in today's episode, please subscribe so that more people can find out about our show. Plus, you don't want to miss any future episodes with the amazing guests and topics we have lined up for you.